Welcome to the Treasure Coast Regional League of Cities in St. Lucie County Chamber of Commerce Candidate Forum. We have moved on to Florida House of Representatives race, District 84. I am Teresa Aronson, President and CEO of the St. Lucie County Chamber of Commerce. It is my pleasure, my honor to be co-hosting this event today with the Treasure Coast Regional League of Cities. The St. Lucie County Chamber of Commerce is the only Chamber of Commerce located right here in all of St. Lucie County. We represent Fort Pierce, Port St. Lucie, St. Lucie Village, and all the incorporated areas. We are an organization made up of nearly 900 business members, and we are very proud to represent their interests in this area. I will be one of your moderators today. My co-moderator will be Mr. Tom Campenny.
Hi, I'm Tom Campenny, and I represent the Treasure Coast Regional League of Cities. The Treasure Coast Regional League of Cities was founded in 2006 and is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization made up of 14 cities, towns, and villages on the Treasure Coast in St. Lucie, Martin, Indian River, and Okeechobee counties. The League is one of over 24 affiliates of the Florida League of Cities. Our mission is to raise awareness and promote the collective interest of the municipalities and their residents. We are to provide education on good municipal government and encourage greater communication and cooperation, especially with home rule.
Very good. I will go over some of the rules as previously chosen, random order, and we will be starting to my left, proceeding to the right. And opening statements are 2 minutes. And topics will, the questions asked will be on topics with a wide range of state issues. The moderator, which is myself or Mr. Campenny, will read the questions. No interaction among candidates, audience members, or other program participants is allowed. Answers to the questions posed will be limited to 1 minute, and each candidate will be given the chance to answer. Each candidate will also be given 2 minutes for closing remarks. We will go in the opposite order of the opening remarks. You will be warned at 15 seconds. Catherine Cordero from the St. Lucie County Chamber of Commerce will hold up the appropriate paddle. And after 15 seconds, guess what? Your time's up. At that time, she will ring the bell. You don't want to hear that, so please pay attention to the 15-second paddle. We will begin, and I will pass it over to Mr. Campenny.
For opening remarks, Ms. Johnson.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Delores Hogan Johnson. I'm a native of St. Lucie County, I'm proud to say. I was schooled here in the public schools of St. Lucie County. I'm a proud graduate of Lincoln Park Academy. And my life's work has been preparing me for leadership roles of all kinds. And I look forward to serving the citizens of St. Lucie County and the district in particular. I have worked with public housing, so I know the needs of the less fortunate. I have worked just tirelessly trying to help my city, my county, the citizens, educating, and I heard Ms. Campenny say about educating the citizens to the needs of what it'll take as a whole to do that. So my feeling, my desire is to be of service. I've done work with the Waterfront Council, I'm president of that. So the issues that are facing us now with the quality of water and the quality of air, it's so important. You can own the most beautiful home and not be able to enjoy it because of what's happening and what can happen. So we've got to come together. Health care is an issue, affordable health care, access to affordable health care, expanding Medicaid. I did not understand the fact that we had money sent back. The education system and the vocational part of it to prepare for an educated workforce. I will work with the communities, the entities to come together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Joseph.
Good afternoon. My name is Robert Joseph. I'm married with 3 kids, wife, and the reason I'm running, I have a desire to serve, and also as a part of the community. I've been in the community, and has been a as a worker, as a class worker, and I've seen how it's important for the people to get representation, because most of the time, sometimes they go out and vote, and basically they vote against themselves, because the way the system works, a big corporation, so they don't have advantage to represent. Everything is a lobbyist. So and I've been working for minimum wage. I know how it feels when somebody working 40 hours, you can put food on the table for your family. I know how it feels when somebody working for 40 hours, you don't have insurance and to take your kid to your hospital. And by the way, in 2015, and there's a news where someone go to the hospital because of lack of insurance. They kick him out from the hospital, and he passed away in front of the hospital. And we have to bring it and bring change. Make sure those people have affordable health care or expand the Medicaid for everybody. So we cannot afford our kid going without insurance. And also we have the prison system, the criminal justice system, and some people have the privilege in this country. They don't know what it's come with people who don't have that privilege, because the criminal justice system, we need a reform of that. The prison system, we have people who go in prison as a regular citizen, good citizen. When they come out a criminal. We have to change that system. We have to work. And thank you.
Mr. Gotz.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the forum. I am a businessman for the last 40 years, self-employed. I'm an education activist for the last 25 years. I've been the co-founder of 10 charter schools. And in 2011, Governor Scott appointed me to the St. Lucie County Fire District. I was his appointee, one of 7 on that board. The St. Lucie County Fire District has a budget of approximately $90 million. We've had to oversee that budget and skinny it down over the past 6 to 7 years because of what happened back in 2007 and 2008. In 2017, I was appointed to the Citizens Budget Committee for St. Lucie County. Over the past 2 years, we've looked at different ways to find savings in our county budgets and ways that we can offset additional expenses. You know, there's only 2 ways to balance a budget. You either increase revenues or you reduce expenses. And both of those need to be looked at when you're looking at government, because government needs to be accountable to the citizens. Our taxpayer dollars need to be followed. We need to know that dollars spent come back to us with some type of return on investment, or that at least we know that they were spent properly and we get positive results for those dollars. Thank you.
Ms. Aronson?
We will move on to the question portion. Remember, each candidate gets 1 minute to answer the question, and Mr. Campenny will pose our first question.
First question. Florida cities have home rule powers, which means they do not need legislative authorization to address local needs. This was given to the cities over 50 years ago in our state constitution. Each year, the state legislature passes laws that limit or preempt municipal home rule powers. If elected, would you oppose efforts to preempt municipal home rule? Are there any circumstances under which you would support a legislative preemption of home rule? I believe we start with Mr.
Gotz. Mr. Gotz.
Mr. Gotz.
Home rule is very interesting because if you look back about 5 years ago, there was something called 750 that was being offered. That was going to be a blanket over 7 counties from the Keys up through Indian River County, and that was going to put the federal government ahead of us when it came to making decisions about our zoning. This was a real problem, and we as a group fought that during that period of time. Every level of government should have its own home rule, and basically every level of government has its own sovereignty. This should be respected between the layers of government.
Mr. Joseph.
And I believe the cities will have a right as representation of the community to make the rules what's good for the community. We cannot allow somebody who sit down and tirelessly who don't know exactly what's going on in our community. And as a city or county, we must close to the community. And so therefore it's you people have the right to make rules and enforce regulation how people function in this community. And for instance, like a zoning, you're supposed to have a right to make how people build, how people maintain the property, how people survive in this community. And I will support to keep the city has the right to that right they have by the Constitution.
Ms. Johnson?
I would oppose any attempt to take away home rule from the cities. It's important that the people have an opportunity to work out their own problems and the leaders that they have elected. It bothers me greatly when you elect someone as a representative to the state from your area, and then they would turn around and want to take home rule from you. So I support home rule, and I would be against any attempt to take that away.
Ms. Aronson?
Thank you. This time we will start with Mr. Joseph, and the question is, cities face many challenges maintaining and repairing local roads, water, sewer, and other infrastructure. In many instances, legislative authorization is required for new taxes or revenue sources. How would you propose funding these critical needs?
I will look at the budget and look where we have like spends or non-necessity for spends. We cut deficit and we can bring money, allocate money for the city, because when you have those infrastructure, it's gonna bring the economy of the city, and the property gonna be with value. And also we need those things when every time the property was value, and more money for the city and the county, more money for our school system. So we gonna look to that, to the budget, and where we have no necessity for expend, because sometimes the government employee has too much. We have to look where they have spent the no need and to bring it for the infrastructure.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson?
I look at the opportunity of, again, looking at budgets, what you have. I think because of the people who are coming into our state and our cities, that we do need to work with the state and federal government, depending on what the types of infrastructure is needed. So it's important to have a working relationship with other governmental agencies. If there's an opportunity to raise money for a special project or what have you, again, it's about educating the citizens and getting their support. But a lot of times there's not enough money locally, so we definitely need to collaborate with other governmental entities.
Thank you. And Mr. Gotz?
Funding our roads, water and sewer are the major areas of government. That, along with keeping us safe, are the three prongs that government is really designed for. When it comes to roads, we're sitting in the council for City of Port St. Lucie. We have gas tax. Gas tax comes in, and that gas tax is utilized to support our roads. As a matter of fact, 3 years ago, this council in Port St. Lucie took $3.5 million of their gas tax and put it into the general fund to pay for some of the things out west. Water and sewer in this city is an enterprise fund, a very profitable enterprise fund. The county is very much the same way. The county has 8.6 in their fund for roads. So there's plenty of money around for roads, water, and sewer.
Thank you. And Mr. Campenny?
Do you support a local government being allowed to implement its own restrictions that govern short-term rentals, especially in light of organizations such as Airbnb renting properties in residential communities, disrupting the lives of those who live there full-time? Ms. Johnson?
I think that, people are entrepreneurs, but the integrity of a community has to be respected, but rules are established, and I think that they need to be implemented and carried on by the local entity. But I don't see a need to restrict it totally. But again, it's up to the municipality and the county in which we're in, and how they would, the citizens would feel about it, because it's that NIMBY thing, not in my backyard, but we have to be careful of that.
Mr. Gotz?
When you talk about the ability to utilize your private property is one of the major rights we have in this country. Freedom of use of our private property is also very important. Private property rights, when they're infringed, have a tendency to cause serious problems. I believe it would be very difficult to monitor the tax collection for people who do either an Airbnb or lease their condo out for a short period of time. This would probably cost more to monitor it than it would the dollars generated by the tax.
Mr. Joseph?
I believe it's based on what the city rules and regulation, based on what the city enforce. And I believe property-wise, we still respect that. If somebody buy the property, if the city allow it, I think we should allow it. If the city ordinances state otherwise, and I'm good with that, but I support it.
Ms. Aronson?
Very good. This time, I believe we will start with Mr. Gotz again. This is on disability expansion. The legislator has mandated that certain health conditions, such as heart disease suffered by firefighters or law enforcement, are presumed to be work-related and apply to both workers' comp and disability pension claims. Disability presumption mandates are very costly to city budgets. Would you oppose expanding the existing disability presumption laws to include cancer disability presumption? Do you support modifying existing laws so that certain risk factors, such as tobacco use, should be considered when applying the presumption? Mr. Gotz.
I don't think you gave me the question in a minute. How do you expect me to answer it?
That's not part of your minute.
Okay, that's not part of my minute. You've got several parts to this question, and basically when it comes to disability expansion for these different areas, you really need to look at each of the areas and how they're currently being handled. Our disability overall countrywide has expanded beyond belief. I mean, I believe there's a railroad up in New York, of which something like 75% of their retirees are on disability. So I think it needs to be looked at. I think the different areas you mentioned, whether it be tobacco or work-related stress, needs to be evaluated, and then when all the facts are brought up, I think we should take a hard look to see, because our first responders, our fire, our EMS, our police, have a difficult job, very difficult job, and anything that would help them would be good. You're welcome.
Mr. Joseph.
I think we have to look at, very hard to look at what's going on, and disability is very expensive. And if you got the statewide and even the countrywide, it's very expensive. But when it comes to law enforcement, like firefighter, correctional officer, police officer, so I don't think we can deny those people certain benefits, because they're very hard work. A lot of people don't know what they're going through unless you work in that field. And this is a very hard subject. We have to look at and say detail to detail, and we have to look what's going on. We have to make sure every cities, like that's why the cities commission to look at it and to see what best for our law enforcement.
Thank you. And Ms. Johnson.
Thank you. Again, it's up to the cities. You're running your city. You have your budget. You know what it looks like. And I think it's important as a representative for you to let us know. I want to keep the lines of communication open so that we know what you're facing. We each of us know, and you have the right to negotiate because you know what you have in your coffers to deal with, and keeping in mind you want to do right by the employees also.
Thank you. We are going to move on to closing remarks, and as a reminder, you each get 2 minutes, and as noted previously, we will go in the reverse order from opening remarks, which means we'll start the 2 minutes with Mr. Gotz.
Thank you. My basic platform running for State House 84 is the accountability in government. Having had the opportunity over the past 6 to 7 years to look at different budgets, and actually I've been doing budgets for 30 years, once you drill down past the surface, you start to find out where the dollars go. And a lot of times they don't go where they're designated to go. It is responsibility of government to service citizens with safety, clean air, clean water, and roads. We need to keep our environment clean. This is once again a responsibility of government. We also need to make our schools houses of learning again, secure from those that would hurt our students. Our teachers need a better wage, and also more dollars should be put into professional development. Over 50 cents, less than 50 cents of every dollar goes into the classroom. There's too much spent outside the classroom. And those things, because the budget for education is 10% federal, 45% state, and 45% local effort, we would have a chance to do something there. And finally, we need to support our first responders. We need to make sure that they're paid properly and that they have a living wage. Our police, our fire, and our EMS are primary to a civil society, which is something that I feel we may be losing. So I would encourage everyone to get out and vote either early, absentee, or on August 28th. Thank you.
And Mr. Joseph, your 2 minutes starts now.
Thank you. It's a privilege for me to be here. So everybody who's listening to me right now, I'm going to ask them very pay attention and to where they're going to put the vote. Because most of the time, like I said in the beginning, sometimes we vote against ourselves. Because when you vote, the people who represent you, most of the time, they go ahead and represent the big corporation. So right now, we know the minimum wage, we need to be very, 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 it is very, very, very important issue. We have to work on that and make sure the people who's working for 40 hours a week, they put food on the table. And our teachers need to get pay. They need to get a living wage. And we have the school system, like kids keep killing our kids. We have to make sure safety and security in our school. We have to make sure the kids safe. When they go to school, they come back to their families. And we need our law enforcement to get a better wage. Especially, I don't know if anybody ever worked for Department of Correction. The state correction is a mess. We need to look at those systems and make change. Make those people who's working, who keep us safe while we're sleeping. Those people, they can serve the family. They can put food on the people in the family. Our healthcare, we need to make sure when people sick, they can go to the hospital. And we're gonna work with the Department of Environmental to make sure we give them money, what they need, allocate money in the budget for what they need to make sure we have a safe environment. And also, we want people know So we're gonna go there and to represent you guys, especially small business. Our small business, we're gonna make sure when you work as a self-employed, you need to be able to pay yourself. You'll be able to put some money away for you for retirement. So we're gonna make sure we work with the local bank, especially local bank credit union.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
And moving on, 2 minutes, Ms. Johnson.
Thank you. I ask your vote, for your vote. I want to make sure that people understand this is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. I'm not going to stop thinking about or talking about you when I leave this area. I'm going to represent you. So I need that line of communication open, that we work on these problems together. I'll be a full-time representative and open to everyone who comes in with ideas that's best for the county. What's best with our school system? I look forward to working. We need to get back to the basics. The public school system is the best way, the proven way to educate our students. So we must do the best. The vocational piece that goes into that, ways that students are not necessarily going to academic college, so to speak, but they can go to college and learn vocational skills, because we need to have sustainable jobs. So the vocational and the education piece goes together. Access to affordable health care, expanding Medicaid. No one in this county should have to suffer. I worked with a neighbor who lost everything, all of his coverage. So we've got to work on that and make sure that no one is without care. The environment. I've worked for clean water and clean air. Our health, our quality of life, and our quantity of life depends on clean air and water. So we've got to do everything as we work together with the different entities to make sure we have a healthy environment.
Thank you. I want to thank all of the candidates and our audience as well. This is a reminder that there are 6 candidates in this race. These are 3 of the 6. Please make sure if you are viewing at home that you look at both parts for this race. This race, of course, Florida House of Representatives, District 84. Thank you again.